It's crazy to think about just how many superheroes who are technically all fighting on the side of good still manage to find reasons to fight, and how many of the best feuds can be over the most trivial things. Some of the reasons are simply because these heroes strive to do good in a different way than their fellow heroes. Some just argue over romantic interests. Some of their feuds are epic and some are petty. And we're going to take a look at some of these reasons as well as everything in between as we count down the top 10 best and most entertaining superhero feuds of all time. Be sure to stick around till the end of this list where I will have some bonus content coming your way. Alright, let's get counting. Number 10. Superman vs. the Flash. This has always been a friendly feud between the two superheroes, but one that is great nonetheless. The Flash may be known as the fastest superhero around, but this didn't stop Kal-El from asking to compete for the title. When it comes to Superman and the Flash, Superman is known for his playful, competitive side when it comes to challenging the Flash to a foot race. While they have on occasion tied, it's usually the Flash that is deemed the winner and the fastest between the two. And those ties were more a case of happenstance and imprecise tech than anything. Superman would go on to race not just Barry but Wally as well. Although Superman does often give the Flash a run for his money when flying, as he's faster in the air than he is on the ground. Number 9. Rocket vs. Starlord. You may have noticed this feud in the Guardians of the Galaxy films, but it also extends to the comic book world too. In fact, Rocket ended up taking over as team leader after he became frustrated with Starlord when he became too busy to uphold his role as leader of Guardians of the Galaxy. Peter ended up as the king of Spartax, and his duties kept him so busy that he eventually got lost in his new role, alienating his fellow Guardians and even later his girlfriend at the time, Kitty Pryde, who ended up replacing Quill on the team as the new Starlord. In the films, Rocket and Quill often fight over who is the true leader of the group and who is the better pilot. Number 8. Green Arrow vs. Batman. Green Arrow and Black Canary have a romantic history that goes way back, but did you know that Batman and Black Canary did as well? Their affair was pretty brief. They were only shown to share a kiss on a panel, and although Black Canary was with Oliver at the time, it seemed like the two's relationship hadn't quite settled yet. Conflicted after kissing Batman but having strong feelings of love and fear for Green Arrow, she actually turned to Bats for, oddly enough, brotherly advice in Justice League of America issue 88. The feud between Batman and Green Arrow was mostly one-sided and pretty passive-aggressive on Oliver's part. At one point he almost seems to be ready to fight Batman over the whole thing, but Batman ends up giving Black Canary the advice to stay with Queen, and that's the end of it. Well, he doesn't really say as much, but he does give the couple his keys to the Batjet, which seems in and of itself some kind of weird bat blessing. Number 7. Namor vs. Cyclops. Namor and Cyclops are both mutants and were both part of the Phoenix Five during Avengers vs. X-Men, and yet they don't always see eye to eye. The two found themselves in a large disagreement during the events of Avengers vs. X-Men. Namor disagreed with Cyclops when it came to how to best deal with the Avengers. While Cyclops only wanted to imprison them, Namor aimed to completely finish them off, attacking the remaining members in Wakanda. This led to Namor being defeated and losing his connection to the Phoenix Force, fortunately, and not with the Avengers being wiped out. Cyclops and Namor have also fought for the affections of Emma Frost before, although with Emma and Scott there fortunately doesn't seem to be too much jealousy or possessive feelings between them. At least that's what Emma would have us believe. Number 6. The Bat Family. Feuds on feuds with this one. While there is a lot of love in the Bat Fam, there is also a consistent amount of fighting. Fighting to be Batman, fighting to impress Batman, fighting surrounding who is a better Robin or more qualified Batgirl. This team of vigilantes is there for each other as often as they seem to be against each other, but in the end all of the Robins and Bats and Batgirls and women do end up relying on one another and supporting each other. So even if they attempted to murder each other, they still consider one another family. And some of them have attempted to kill each other, by the way. It's not Damian Wayne's fault, he was raised by the League of Assassins, guys. Number 5. Tony Stark vs. Bruce Banner. Not only have these two fellow Avengers playfully competed for the title of smartest, but when on less friendly terms, these two have some reasons to have serious beef. Seriously. In Original Sin, it was revealed that Tony was actually the one responsible for causing Bruce's transformation into the Hulk. It was retconned and added in that the two actually worked together before their days on the Avenger team. At one point, they worked together to build a gamma bomb for the military. Bruce felt it best to restrain the bomb somewhat when it came to its destructive capacity. Being an expert in gamma radiation, Banner knew it was nothing to take lightly. Stark saw that his partner was holding back when it came to the design. Being the busy billionaire playboy that he was at the time, Tony left a lot of the work to Bruce, only to be disappointed when he noticed that Banner's design was not as powerful as it could be. It was later revealed that some last minute work that Tony then did on the bomb, while drunk, caused it to explode, creating the accident that would transform Banner into the Hulk. Now that's a reason to feud. Number 4. Catwoman vs. Satana. Satana has been on a few people's bad side before for the exact same reason that she was with Selena, tampering with people's minds. Naughty naughty. Batman was also mad at her for a while for a similar thing. Satana used her powers to manipulate Catwoman's mind, in essence changing Selena's alignment. When Catwoman found out, she was pretty upset, and fought Satana, refusing to accept her apology. This made Catwoman question a lot of her own motivations and life choices, wondering how many of them were her own will and how many decisions had actually been influenced by Satana's meddling in her mind. Number 3. Rogue vs. Carol Danvers. Mrs. Marvel was unfortunate enough to run into Rogue back when she was working with Mystique, her adopted mom, and the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Rogue attacked Carol not knowing the full strength and extent of her powers and accidentally took Carol's powers permanently. Beyond that, she also took Carol's memories too. Carol would recover her memories and powers eventually, but would never be the same, and part of her would reside within Rogue for quite some time. The two eventually managed to get to a place of forgiveness until Rogue tried to leech Carol's powers once more with her abilities during the events of Avengers vs. X-Men. Bad move, Rogue. Number 2. Batman vs. Green Lanterns. All of the Green Lanterns. Almost all of the Green Lanterns. Maybe not Jon Stewart. Batman has a pretty big dislike of Green Lanterns ever since his days with Guy Gardner on the Justice League. Guy at one point challenged Batman for the leader role. The two fought and Batman ended up embarrassingly knocking him out with one punch. But Batman doesn't just have a problem with Guy, who admittedly is kind of a jerk. He also has beef with another famous Green Lantern, Hal Jordan. After Jordan became Parallax and basically threatened the entire universe, turning evil and becoming corrupted by fear, Batman had a huge problem with him too, understandably. And despite the fact that Jordan was not in control at the time, found it hard to trust him and forgive him, even after he had been reformed and worked to make up for all the destruction that he had caused. We see more of the feud explored in All-Star Batman and Robin when Batman and Robin paint themselves and a room yellow and ensnare Hal in the room. In case you didn't know, yellow is the color of fear and is considered a weakness of Green Lanterns, so this was a pretty big screw you to Hal. Of course, it did remain a weakness until Parallax was freed. Number 1. Wolverine vs. Cyclops. One of the biggest and most ridiculous feuds of all time in comics. Wolverine and Cyclops have a few reasons that they don't always get along, and while both are X-Men and respect one another, they have been at each other's throats more times than one could likely count. But although they have many differences to fight about, especially when it comes to a lot of their viewpoints on how best to handle heroic situations, the main reason we see them fight boils down to their feelings about one other X-Men member, Jean Grey. Both of them are in love with her and constantly feud over who deserves her more and what is best for Jean. I love this feud mostly because how many times Logan and Summers have almost killed each other over Jean, which I think is just so dramatic and kind of ridiculous. I mean, a good way to resolve that issue would be to just ask Jean how she feels, no? Although when Wolverine was pissed after Jean died because Cyclops so quickly moved on and found happiness with Emma Frost, that wasn't really an issue that Jean could resolve. Until she kinda did. In astral/ghost form? Thank you so much for watching, Nerd Squad. I hope you enjoyed this list. What is your favorite superhero feud? What is the silliest reason that you think superheroes have beef over? Who do you think is the most antagonistic superhero? Let us know in the comments below. And speaking of comments, it's time to turn to some comments from one of our latest videos, Top 10 Shocking Vampirella Facts. Matthew J. Raymore says, women being objectified in comics has been a huge issue throughout comic book history. Oh, hush with that noise. It's called fantasy for a reason. It is fantasy, I agree, but I also will not hush. Graham Can comments, a part 2 and beyond please. I've been a big fan of Vampirella since the 70s and would love to see more. And with Blade and Twilight being popular and a Dracula television series, maybe someone will be inspired to do a good, with all due respect to the 96 movie. As always, thank you so much for your video. Thank you for your comment. Would love to do a part 2 and would also love a Vampy series. John M. Burt 1960 comments, number 6 regarding her costume. Am I the only one that has ever noticed that Vampirella and Plastic Man wear the same costume? Wait, I think you're onto something there. They do look very similar, don't they? That's all the time we have for comments today. Be sure to comment below for a chance to have your thoughts shouted out in a future list. This has been Top 10 Nerd and I'm your host Amanda McKnight. You stay nerdy, YouTube. Satana has been on a few people's bad side before the exact same reason and some of her memories as well. Beyond that, oh, never mind. Fuck. The two eventually managed to get to a place of forgiveness until Rogue tried to leech Carol's powers once more and Graham Can comments, part 2. Bleh.